Hey everyone, this is Joy with Create It with Joy. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching. Today's card was inspired by all of those birthdays that land in these winter months, and there's not really a holiday around, but it's wintry and cold outside, and so I really wanted to make a card that had that kind of feel to it. So I am using some products from Honeybee Stamps, and I am using their Snow Buddies stamp set with these cute little critters in them, and a Flakey sentiments. I'm using a sentiment from that, and I'm also going to be using a sentiment from Fawn's Happy Happy Happy. So I'm going to be stamping these images on Bristol Smooth watercolor cardstock, because I'm going to be using my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, which I have not used in forever. I am stamping that with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black Ink. It is watercolor marker friendly. And I am using my Tim Holtz Glass Media Mat, and I am just using my distress sprayer and spraying a little bit of water on my pad there. And I'm using, you could use a paintbrush, but I like to use my water brush pen, and I kind of use it weird. I don't fill it up with water for stuff like this because sometimes I feel like I can't control how much water I'm using, and I end up flooding my image, and I just don't like that. So I actually just dip it in a little bit of water and kind of touch the excess off onto a paper towel, and then go to my paper and blend it. So for this little bunny, I am using for the ears light carmine, and for him, he is being colored with mid brown. So I'm only using those two colors. With the shading and everything, I just use the water and kind of lighten it out and do the shading and shadows that way. But you could use a couple different colors, 2 or 3 different colors, like you would if you were doing Copic coloring. For me, I find it easier this way to just kind of use one color and blend it out again, like I said, with the water. I feel like that works really great for me. So that first little bunny is really, these little critters, number one, let me just say, are so darn cute out of this Snow Buddies stamp set. It actually has a lot of snowmen and things like that, and it has Christmas things, but I think it worked great for a wintry birthday card. Now the second little bunny, again for the ears, the pink in the ears, I'm using light carmine, but this little bunny is going to be gray, so I'm using mid gray for his cute little body. And I'm laying down the darker color, just a little bit of it, because some of these darker colors are very concentrated, so you have to be careful with that. Then dipping my water brush pen in some water, taking off the excess on a paper towel, and then bringing it to the image and blending it out. If I blended it too much and I don't have that dark contrast or that shadow, then I add a little bit more of that dark. I'm also giving them, that top bunny has a little pink nose and little pink cheeks, and the little gray bunny has a little pink cheek, and so I'm using the light carmine for that, blending it out with some water. Now I'm going to be coloring in their little sweaters, and I am using blue and, oh, what's the other color? Sorry, blue and violet for their sweaters. I kind of wanted to, the whole color scheme of this card, as you will see when I do some ink blending, is those kind of colors. The distress inks that I used for this are Wilted Violet and Blueprint Sketch. So it kind of has that color theme to it. So these cute little birds, I am using Cobalt Blue, and I'm also using a turquoise green. This is Cobalt Blue right here. And again, I'm doing the same thing that I did for the bunnies. I'm laying down the color, blending it out with the water. And there's very little water on the tip of my water brush pen, especially for these tiny little images. And then just going back and adding a little more darker spots so you kind of have that shadowy contrast. So now for this little bird, I wanted him to stand out different. So he is turquoise green, which that is just absolutely my most favorite color on the face of the earth. It's just like the yummiest color. And then Scarlet Red is for the nose, the little beaks of the birds. Not the nose, that is weird. The beaks. So I'm going to take those same colors and color in these birthday presents. They could be Christmas presents because if you were doing a Christmas card with the stamp set, that would work as well. But I'm turning it into a birthday card. So I didn't want to introduce too many different colors into this. I really wanted to keep it fairly simple with the color scheme. So I'm using all the same colors that I did with the birds and the bunnies onto these presents. I have stamped out 4 presents. I ended up only coloring 3 and actually ended up only using 2. But I do anymore, I try to make sure I kind of give myself more images than I think I need, because one thing I really hate is coming back and having to stamp and color a new image once I'm kind of past that part. I don't know why that bothers me so, but it does. So I'm coloring these images using the turquoise green, the violet, and the cobalt blue, either on the package itself or in the ribbon. Just doing the same thing, laying down some dark color, blending it out so it's got some light and some dark and some shadows, which of course makes your images not look flat. It gives them some 3-dimension, and they really do end up looking great. I'm so glad I got to use my Zig markers because I have not used them in forever. So now I'm going to take the coordinating dies and run through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cut machine. And I'm using my purple tape, which I've mentioned in the last couple videos. I finally jumped on the bandwagon for that. So glad I did, because it works really fantastic for holding down your dies. It does not rip your paper, which is really, really good. So now that that's done, we are going to, I am going to ink up this background. I am using Distress Oxide inks in Wilted Violet and Blueprint Sketch. This is Blueprint Sketch, and I'm going to start with that first. And I'm really going to get my paper saturated. The paper that I'm using is Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock. And then now I'm going to add the Wilted Violet, make sure that overlaps, because I kind of want that third color, you know, that's I think part of the fun when you're creating with Distress Oxide inks, is that you get another color when you're overlapping and blending. And I don't know, part of that is just really a lot of fun to me. So I'm going to keep blending that and keep blending that. And I was kind of deciding if I was going to leave the top part white, but I did decide against that. And I took the Wilted Violet and just added it ever so lightly to the top, because I still kind of wanted to have this, I guess, ombre effect maybe into this other color, but I didn't want it solid dark Wilted Violet all the way to the top. I grabbed a scratch piece of paper so I would not put my fingers in the Distress Oxide ink, because sometimes it can leave fingerprints. So I'm just blending and blending, just going a little bit lighter to get that light Wilted Violet look at the top of this cardstock. So now I am using from Gina K's Warm Winter Wishes card kit. They had the Snowflake stamp set, and oh my gosh, I fell in love with these snowflakes. They're beautiful. So I'm using my Misty. I have the snowflakes lined up on my paper how I want, and I misted them with a little bit of water, and I'm stamping that onto my inked background, because we know that Distress Oxide inks are water reactive. So I'm going to do that a couple times so that way you can really see these light snowflakes in the background without having to do embossing powder or anything like that. And doesn't that just look so lovely? Then I'm taking my Distress sprayer and just spraying that over, misting it over probably about 3 times, I think, and just lightly dabbing it off to give it a little more water effect on the back, so it kind of feels a little more snowy. That's the look I was going for. Now this is a die cut. They're honey cuts is what they're called, from Honeybee Stamps. It's the Hugs honey cuts, and it has 3 dies in this one thing, and they layer on top of each other. So I'm cutting the back 2 out of a white cardstock, and then the front one is going to be cut out of Cardstock Warehouse's royal blue cardstock, and then the white is from Cardstock Warehouse. It's the Sweet Tooth white, and that very back die cut has little dots all around the edges, little embossed dots all around. And so as you can see, it just layers nicely. You could do it in all different colors, but I wanted the 2 back ones to just be white and this front one to be the one that's the color, which kind of matches, again, this background that we've inked up. So keeping it all in the color family. But isn't that a cute die cut? Totally love it. Now I'm using Honeybee Stamps Deckled Edge. This is the A2 size Deckled Edge. And I'm using the second largest size. And then I'm just gonna, there's a larger one that you could cut to and you could have layered backgrounds, but I wanted a lot of white on my background when I attached this to my A2 size card base. So now I'm just going to use some liquid glue. I'm using Lawn Fawn's glue tube, and I'm going to be gluing these this Hugs sentiment, die cut sentiment, and putting that aside to let that dry. Really super easy to put together. Liquid glue is kind of the best thing for this, I think. But doesn't that beautiful cardstock, that royal blue, just pop? It totally matches. It's a good match in between Wilted Violet and Blue Print Sketch. So now I'm going to take the flaky sentiments from, well, no, I'm sorry. I am going to first lay out my card so I can take the sentiment, laying out my little critters. I am taking from Flaky Sentiments, it says Sending You, and I'm putting that there. And then from Lawn Fawn's Happy, 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 I'm just using the word birthday. So it's going to say Sending You Birthday Hugs. And so I'm getting that lined up. I want to visually kind of see how this is going to come together before I stamp and heat emboss these two sentiments. So again, I'm going to use my Misty. I'm going to prep that with my anti-static tool. I'm going to line up, I'm going to put the hugs back on there, and I'm going to line up my sentiments. I'm going to be using Simon Says Stamp Clear Embossing Ink, and I'm also going to be using Ranger's Fine Detail White Embossing Powder. Now that those are stamped, I'm going to dump that on there, and we're going to heat that with our heat tool, making sure I don't have any little white speckles anywhere. You can use your finger or a paintbrush or anything like that to clear that off. And then, like I said, I'm going to heat that with my heat gun. And I like to kind of start from the back to heat it up, and I just kind of go back and forth, front to back. And to me, that works out really fantastic. But there's that really cute sentiment. So now I'm going to attach the word hugs right under that. Make sure that's centered from side to side in my card. And then I will attach this, and I'm going to use foam tape for this because I wanted this panel to have some dimension. You could use foam tape or some fun foam behind it, and that would work great. You guys, I bought that ginormous 3M roll of foam tape. It looks like the size of a record. Every time I pull it out to use it, it absolutely cracks me up. Okay, so now that is centered in there, and I thought it was crooked, and then I realized it wasn't crooked. Now we're going to put together the little scene down here with the cute presents and the little critters. I am going to pop the bunnies up on foam tape because I do want those to be in the foreground. So I'm going to adhere my present down and then put this little guy. And I did like that his little ears were hanging off the colored panel of the background onto the white. The same thing on the other side, get that little present down and glue that little bunny. And again, he is popped up on foam tape for dimension. And half of his little body or part of his little body will be hanging off onto the white, which I think looks really, really cute. And then we've got these three little birds that we're going to use. He needed a little more foam tape behind the ear that was hanging off because he had a lot. The other bunny didn't need that, but a lot of his ear was hanging off, and so I didn't want that to get bent. That cute little bird down at the bottom, and then the other two birds that are looking down, I liked them up on top of the word sentiments. I thought that was a really cute idea, like it's looking down at the bunnies and the one bunny's looking up. Really cute. And then I'm going to take my black glaze pen and add that to the eyes of all the critters. I like that glossy look, it stands out. And then I'm going to take some glossy accents and add that to the beaks of the birds and to the noses of the bunnies, so they can have a little bit of shine. And then I'm also going to add it to the ribbon part of the presents. I liked that. You could also use like a Nouveau crystal drop or glitter drop, excuse me, You could use diamond stickles from Ranger, anything like that if you wanted to have glitter to that, but I kind of wanted to keep it not glittery. Then I'm going to take my white gel pen and I'm going to add some white highlights to the word hugs. I felt like that needed a little something to kind of bring that sentiment to life. And so I'm just adding a few little highlights there to add some interest. That card is all done. Look at that fun snowflake background. The color is fun. It's wintry, but it's birthday, and those cute little critters from that stamp set are just so darling with the Zig clean color real brush markers. It really turned out fantastic. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I appreciate all of your support. If you like what you've seen, please thumbs up, subscribe, comment, and share. Please subscribe to my channel. I would love that. I do have some affiliate links below. It costs you nothing, but it does continue to help me create. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye.